Guys, this is getting crazy. Another dormant wallet just woke up after 14 years of silence and started to move 3,962 Bitcoin, which is equivalent of $468 million worth, to a brand new address. It originally received the coins for just $1,558 in 2010. That's a 300,000x return. Now, do you expect me to believe this? Like, this is getting wild. There's so many dormant wallets that are now waking up after 14 years. And, you know, this person invested $1,558. That's a retail wallet, right? That's retail. You expect me to believe that their 1.5K went to 100K. They didn't take profits. They didn't sell. It went to $1 million. So $1,500 went to $1 million. Okay, you can go and buy a house from your $1,500 investment. You're telling me they didn't sell at $1 million. It went to $10 million from $1,500. They apparently didn't sell. It went to $100 million, which is insane money. They didn't sell. And then it pretty much went to $500 million. And they decided to take profits. They randomly sat through a 300,000x return. I mean, first of all, 14 years ago, no one really knew what was going to happen to Bitcoin 14 years ago, right? No one really expected it to be this global asset that a lot of people are going to use and institutions might use, right? No one expected this. And it was used by criminals, actually, 14 years ago, quite a lot of the time. And not just criminals, it was used to purchase, illegal substances, whatever. And it had this real shady past, and a lot of people did have money laying around on wallets that was lost. A lot of systems got hacked. A lot of the exchanges at the time were crazy. They weren't like exchanges today. A lot of them went under. A lot of them went missing. Some of them got hacked. People lost a lot of Bitcoin 14 years ago. It wasn't easy to store it. There was, thefts going on. People would lose their seed phrase and it would get wiped out. So first of all, it's very, very hard to hold this kind of money for so long, just because of the difficulty of keeping it stored. Now, also, a lot of people, what they did is they actually upgraded. So as the systems upgraded, as the wallets upgraded, a lot of dormant wallets started to move to new wallets and start to move to secure systems, secure ledgers. Some of them diversified and put some onto exchanges, some into other wallets. And, they spread it out across multiple different wallets and multiple different systems to reduce the risk, right? You don't want to have $500 million in some old wallet that was running on the old systems from 14 years ago, because why? It's a threat. These are the wallets that are actually easier to hack than most of the modern securities, right? Modern security systems. So for security reasons, it would be insane to hold it for 14 years in the same wallet. There are so many suspicious things about this. Then secondly, you're definitely retail if you had 1.5k of Bitcoin in a wallet, or you might be a whale that had 10, 20 different wallets. If you had 10, 20 different wallets, then why wouldn't you upgrade your systems? It doesn't make sense. So, this looks like a retail wallet, and they've sat and held for a 300,000x, right? To 1 million, 10 million, 100 million. I don't think there's anyone in their right mind that would have held 1.5k to 450 million and then just decided to go and sell it out of nowhere. Let's say you're a crazy Maxi, you're this Bitcoin Maxi, and you were so Maxi that you held it for 14 years, right? Because that's probably the argument everyone will make. Okay, you're a Maxi, then you're not going to go and sell your entire bag, are you? We can see Galaxy Digital started to dump it on Binance and dump it on the exchanges, and Bitcoin actually came down quite a lot, started to dump a lot last night, where we can see the Bitcoin was being dumped, right? So, if you was a Maxi, would you really go and dump the entire bag all of a sudden? And let's say you did surprisingly hold it all these years to a 300,000x. It would also make you, people would say, what a GOAT, what an OG, what a legend. That would actually make you a very, very bad investor. Despite turning 1.5k into 468 million, that would make you a bad investor. Why? Because you left so much money in an extremely risky wallet that's become old tech and has vulnerabilities, right? So first of all, your risk management is terrible, very, very bad risk management. You could have split this money across multiple different ledgers, different wallets, different hardware wallets, some on exchanges. You should have at least diversified. A 300,000x, there's no need for it. So you're also massively, massively greedy. Anything could have happened to that money, right? Anything could have happened to that money. And you've also held back through some crazy pullbacks, right? You've held back through some 70-80% corrections instead of DCAing out some profits and buying the dip. Because the scary thing is, if they had have just DCA'd out a little bit and taken some profits and then bought the dips, just following the fear and greed, right? If they just followed the fear and greed indicator, they would have had multiple billions of dollars. So something's up with this. Now, the last thing, again, what we keep seeing is these dormant wallets are apparently waking up after investing 1.5k, having nearly $500 million. They're apparently moving it in one transaction. Okay, we saw the other wallet wake up, and the other wallet woke up with like $8 billion and started to move transactions in starting to move money in single transactions, right? So apparently these wallets are waking up and moving life-changing money, not even life-changing money. Like, this could change thousands of people's lives, right? Their entire family, even the charity work you could do is crazy. You can help a lot of people. And apparently they're just waking up like, yeah, send it all in one, right? Send the 300,000x in one transaction to a brand new wallet. This is the thing that's really is flashing as a red flag to me. Something's off about these dormant wallets that are surprisingly waking up. And we've talked about Quantum. Quantum's getting better and better, right? We know Quantum is now going to be ready to ship in the next 3 years. It can do 20,000 more times operations today. As far as we know, right? This is just what we know. This is just what they are telling us. And they're still telling us that we're, maybe 5 years away from these encryptions being able to be hacked. But who knows, right? This kind of activity, this kind of on-chain activity is exactly what I would expect to see if Quantum is able to start chipping away. The older wallets are more vulnerable. They're easier to hack than the modern wallets. And if someone hasn't moved a 300,000x, there's a high chance it's either lost, right? So these are the wallets you would go for. People who aren't going to be on socials like, oh, my money's gone, my wallet's gone, my wallet's been hacked, right? You don't want if you were to hack Bitcoin, you wouldn't want news stories going around of people who could prove that they actually still had access to that wallet, right? They had the seed phrase, they could go into the wallet, they could show you, someone could send them some money, they could send it back saying, look, I'll show you, I'll go into the wallet and start to move some money out, right? They could prove that they actually owned that wallet and that it had been hacked. And that would be the end, right? That would be the end. So this would be the best way to siphon off money. If you'd found a way to hack some of these old wallets via Quantum, which Quantum is going to be able to do. This isn't an if or a but, right, guys? Quantum is going to be able to do this. So unless Bitcoin upgrades the system and changes it, which can take years, right? It can take years for that to happen because of the votes, the way Bitcoin works, the back and forth. The miners have to come to an agreement. Everyone's going to have to research the new upgrade. There's loads of moving parts that are, it's not just an easy move. It's not really an easy upgrade. It could take a year, could take 2 years, and Bitcoin has taken years to do upgrades in the past, right? And this is a major upgrade. You could even argue this will be one of the biggest upgrades because it affects how people handle their money. It's going to affect the wallets. What's the new system going to be like? Does everyone agree on the new system? Like, it could take years to upgrade, and I do worry that we are going to be behind the curve if this eventually happens. And I do worry that Quantum is going to accelerate much faster than we anticipate. As we see with AI, people said video AI is miles away. AI won't be able to make music. We're just literally seeing AI just shatter everyone's predictions. And I think we're probably going to see the same with Quantum. And now we even have AI training Quantum as well, right? It's not just an AI issue. Sorry, it's not just a quantum issue. AI is going to connect to quantum. So this does raise flags for me, because this is how it would happen. And I don't know. Like, let's play devil's advocate and let's actually say that this is true. Let's say that quantum is chipping away at some of these old wallets and it's managing to get into them. This is also what you would see happen, right? The person who had just hacked the wallet would want to get that money out straight away, would want to go into cash. They wouldn't be a Maxi. They would want the cash. If they've just achieved, managed to scoop out 2.14 billion, they would want that cash immediately. And, they would be over the moon. They'd be putting it into gold or whatever. They'd definitely be buying gold, actually, wouldn't they? Because if they know that they're hacking Bitcoin, they know that Bitcoin would be coming to an end. So you would see things like gold rally. And what just happened to gold? Gold has just gone up $10 trillion, which is kind of scary. Because we're seeing two things there that would happen if there was a way to hack Bitcoin. And isn't it funny how gold just went up $10 trillion out of nowhere as well, which kind of adds to this conspiracy. So that's something you would see. And also, it's possible that if you're hacking the wallet, you maybe have to move it all in one transaction. No one in their right mind is going to move their 1.5K that's now $500 million in one single transaction for the first time in 14 years, right? No one in their right mind is going to have 500 million, 300,000x sitting in one wallet for 14 years. And if you're a Maxi, you're not going to go and dump it all. There's way too many red flags here, too many coincidences for me personally to not be on top of this, right? I think we really need to be on top of this as a potential risk, as a potential threat. I'm going to do some videos on what the processes would be for Bitcoin to upgrade, because I'm not going to be super confident in this until they upgrade the systems to be quantum resistant, right? I'm never going to go and put 80% of my portfolio, 50% of my portfolio in Bitcoin if there is a potential hack, because we're not going to see it, guys. You're not going to get a headline that says, hey, remove all your Bitcoin, right? You're not going to get this update. This is red flag, right? Quantum is going to be ready to hack Bitcoin in 6 months. You're not going to get it. This is how exactly it would go down. You would see it on chain. These are the exact headlines you would see if it managed to hack. And you wouldn't go and hack Satoshis wallet because it would be a red flag. You wouldn't go and hack anyone active's wallet. You would go for the least active wallets. And in fact, you could even go for wallets that have, been reportedly lost, right? There's wallets you can go out there that are reportedly owned by gangs that were in prison and stuff like that, right? You could go into some of those wallets and look for wallets like that. So, it'd be nice to see some backstories about some of these wallets. The good thing is that it would be nice to know who's taking this, because to exit this kind of money through Galaxy Digital, you've had to do your KYC and you've had to arrange this. So can you imagine if the people who were taking this money out were actually a part of quantum research companies or quantum tech companies? That would be insane. So yeah, look, guys, it's just a conspiracy. It's a very real subject. I'm going to do some videos, and I think this might be why we're seeing a lot of money come into Ethereum. Now, Ethereum is a lot easier to upgrade to quantum resistance. It's going to be much faster, and it's going to be first to market. It's going to upgrade to quantum protection way before Bitcoin. And I think that, the way I try to make money is I try to think, where's the market going to be in 6 months? Where's the market going to be in 2 years? And I can see this market where Ethereum, maybe Solana, maybe Sui, doesn't just have to be Ethereum. Maybe there's this market where we have blockchains that are faster, cheaper, and quantum resistant, and still there's an argument or debate about how they're going to fix Bitcoin, right? How they're going to make Bitcoin quantum resistant. And that's going to be a big problem. And you would see a lot of inflows come out of Bitcoin and potentially go into these other competitors who have already upgraded. And it will just show how fast they can upgrade, and what happens if Bitcoin has another problem in the future and it's going to take us 2 years to upgrade. It's a real risk. It's a real threat. I think a lot of people are sweeping it under the rug because they're holding heavy amounts of Bitcoin, and people become very attached to assets, especially in crypto. I noticed that a lot of these crypto companies are extremely attached to Bitcoin. Bitcoin maxis and Bitcoin holders are extremely attached. It's Bitcoin or nothing. if you've watched Michael Saylor, he's so passionate about it, and so many of them are so passionate about it, and they're so angry at the government and the fiat systems, and for good reason they're angry. But you can't have emotions with these things, right? You can't have emotions. I just treat every play as, can I 10x this? Can I 20x this? Yes. Well, I'm getting in and out, as a lot of other people are, right? We can see Ripple founder dumps XRP at the top. A wallet linked to Chris Larsen has moved 50 million XRP, 175 million to exchanges as soon as XRP hit local highs. And this is how you make money in crypto, right? You buy low, you sell high. A lot of people have been fudding him, but I mean, look at this pump, guys, right? This pumped last time. What happened to everybody who hodled? They sat through 4 years of pain and downside and bleed, and they could have bought more XRP. Even if it went up eventually, you're still only, I mean, look, the price was 60 cents back here. You're up 5x since 2018. You're up 5x. You're only just about beating inflation. Okay, so you've pretty much made nothing over the last 2 cycles. This is how the money's made. You buy when there's fear, you buy in the crash, you buy when everyone is scared and everyone says crypto's dead, crypto's over. And then you sell in the pumps, right? You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You literally buy low, sell high. And Chris Larsen's going to get a lot of FUD, and for good reason, I suppose, because he doesn't need the money. What are you going to go and buy a yacht? Same with Ethereum, the Ethereum guys, right? Vitalik doesn't need the money. Why are you dumping on all of your community? You don't need it. And selling that kind of money is crazy. You don't really need it. But again, this is how the money's been made. If you're in the business of making money, you buy low and you sell high, right? You create loads of euphoria, and you create all these deals, all these promises, and then you start to take profits. This is how it works. Same thing happening with Bitcoin. Those who bought down here get paid. Those who bought down here get paid. And those who hodl, I mean, eventually you make money, right? But I guess we're comparing Bitcoin to altcoins, which is not a good comparison, because most altcoins don't struggle or don't come back. Surprisingly, XRP is up, but I mean, it's only up 5x since 2018. It's 2025. It's like 8 years ago. But yeah, buy low, sell high, buy low, sell high, right? We're repeating the subject. Just as we've done this cycle, buy render, low, 0.54, sell high, 12.30. We did buy low again. I don't usually do this. I did say here, look, I'm not putting this back into other altcoins. This is purely for USDC, because sometimes if you make money, you end up chucking it back into the market, which you don't want to do really, because a lot of the time altcoins just go down, you end up losing. But this was a crazy dip, right? This was down. This was like an 80-70% pullback back to support. So I have been taking some trades here and there, but guys, don't forget, I'm still in about 65% cash from the profits that I've taken from the bull run, and I still have a Moonbag left in the market. I built a little Moonbag portfolio, which I'm holding. It was like 5%. I'm taking trades here and there, so sometimes like 0.5%, sometimes 1%. I'm taking little trades here and there. As you've seen, I'm still long on Ethereum. I've taken loads of profits from that trade. But I am still long Ethereum. But this is the game, guys, and don't forget, these guys are going to dump on you. They are going to dump on you when the price goes up and pumps to the upside. They are going to dump their bags, and most altcoins are going to come down 80 to 90 to 95%, as they usually do each cycle. I'm going to do loads of videos on this quantum stuff, because I am worried, guys. I am a bit worried about this kind of activity. I love the psychology of some of this stuff, and to me, this is the exact same thing we want to see if there was a vulnerability in Bitcoin, and we want to see gold going to the upside, and gold is just going up to the upside ferociously. We'd want to see loads of these dormant wallets popping up out of nowhere, with some kind of shady. The moving it in one transaction is the icing on the cake for me. It really is, because that's not normal behavior. A lot of this isn't normal behavior, but moving $500 million in one transaction when you was a brokey retail wallet is abnormal to the most extreme, with no test, and it's multiple wallets with no test, right? Another wallet with $8 billion that hadn't moved it in 14 years. Imagine that, $8 billion. you know, people would say he's one of the best investors ever. You're actually one of the worst investors ever, because, you know, yes, you've made huge amounts of money, but the amount of risk you took is phenomenal, right? The amount of money you had to risk there is absolutely phenomenal in old wallets with poor security and potentially open to vulnerabilities. One of the worst investors. We need to really look at it as it is. You know, they made lots of money. That's great. You know, that's a great play, but their risk management, their security was terrible. They could have lost everything, which doesn't add up to me. And especially to go and move it all in one transaction and then start to dump it and start to sell it, something just not right. There's a competition going on my X, by the way, guys. So if you want to try and get free membership to my Discord, I asked Grok here. I said, hey, Grok, pick a random person to win lifetime membership to my private Discord group and in 24 hours. So if you want to participate in that, go over to my X, jump on that, and hopefully you have a chance to win in that competition. Yeah, I'm going to do loads of videos on this. I think we really need to be on top of this, guys. It's not a joke. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on this, and so many people are going to get wrecked. And also, if Bitcoin does get hacked, or it does become public knowledge, and we see loads of these 14-year wallets starting to sell all of a sudden, this could increase rapidly, right? Because if there is a vulnerability, what we'll see is these will reach all-time highs. The number of 14-year-old wallets that have suddenly started to move crypto will reach all-time highs, and that's when we need to start to be alarmed. And it will increase and increase, and then you'll see 13-year wallets, 12-year wallets, 11-year wallets, and it should just increase. Because if someone is scooping this off the markets and going through all of these old wallets, they are aware that other companies are trying to do this too, right? And other, I mean, I say companies, whoever's doing this, and then it should just scale, and it will be out of control, right? You'll see these accounts pop up everywhere, selling. And that would be, you know, and then if you see gold continue to move to the upside like it is, gold would really rally. The problem is gold is already moving. Gold would rally, but don't forget, gold just went up $10 trillion. And it doesn't move like that, right? After it has a move like that, the last time it had a move like that, it came down like this for 10 years. So gold is a tough play because, you know, if something isn't going on in the back end, gold could do this for the next 10 years. So I wouldn't like to buy gold here unless we had some sort of confirmation. And also, I would short Bitcoin, right? It would be the greatest short ever, because Bitcoin would probably go down to, you know, Bitcoin would probably go down 90%, 95% in a very short amount of time, eventually probably go down 99%. If this is true, right? Because who's going to hold it when it's hackable, right? And anyone could just steal your money. Chains that would go up are chains that are quantum resistant. So Ethereum would potentially go absolutely insane if it became quantum resistant. Sui, Solana, chains like that, it would be a race. So I'd love to see those chains actually become quantum resistant before quantum becomes a real threat, if it's not a threat already. So loads of really cool plays here, and I don't think blockchains are going to go away. I think we are still going to have blockchains, and a lot of the money from Bitcoin would probably flow into gold and into quantum resistant blockchains, because the people holding Bitcoin still believe in blockchain technology, right? So shorting Bitcoin would make life-changing money if it did get hacked. You would be late to it, so you'd have to try and front run it, right? If you saw loads of these dormant wallets popping up, you'd have to take some risk. And then I would flow into any quantum resistant chains. If there was no quantum resistant chains, you'd probably see a sell-off on Ethereum, Sui, all of the layer ones as well. You would see a sell-off on those, and you would see probably Ethereum would move very fast to upgrade. Sui and Solana would move very fast to upgrade. And it would be a race to see who is quantum resistant. And then you would see, I think, explosive move to the upside on whoever becomes quantum resistant first. So we need to the first thing I'm going to look at on these moves, because these are all life-changing moves, right, if this plays out. And the first thing I'm going to look at is how long would it take Bitcoin to become quantum resistant? What kind of circumstances does that put us in, right? Do we have to change the security of each wallet? How are people going to upgrade their wallets? What about people who have lost their wallets? What about people who have to fly around the world to get access to their wallets? How long are they going to have to upgrade these wallets? How's all the systems going to work? You know, what kind of miner vote? Is it a 95% miner vote that's required to do this? What if the miners vote no? What if the miners don't agree? There is loads of details around that upgrade that we really need to talk about and understand, especially when there's so many big moves that could potentially happen off the back of this. But so far, this is the exact data I want to see. This is the data I want to see. Dormant wallets from 14 years ago waking up out of nowhere. What do you guys think? I know it's a conspiracy, guys. I know it's conspiracy, but hey, everything is a conspiracy until it actually happens, right? And we do know one thing's for certain: quantum is moving very, very fast. Also, we see a lot of inflows into quantum. That's another thing I'd want to see. Money coming into quantum out of nowhere. Quantum keeps trying to push up to all-time highs, and we're not seeing crazy news headlines from some of these companies. We're seeing loads of volume coming out of nowhere. That's another sector. There's so many plays if this happens, because quantum's going to go through the roof as well, right? So quantum's going to go through the roof. Quantum resistance projects are going to go through the roof. Gold's going to go through the roof. And Bitcoin is the easiest short of our lives, life-changing short. Most altcoins also life-changing shorts. And the first blockchain to become quantum resistant, easiest long of our lifetime, and accumulation and spot hold of our lifetime probably as well. And Bitcoin very hard to upgrade. If it eventually becomes quantum resistance, I guess there'll be inflows again back into Bitcoin. So many beautiful life-changing trades. I love these kind of situations, so I do want to be on top of this. Especially a lot of the maxis will just deny this, and they'll ignore it, They don't want to believe it, because they have so much money and faith and so much attachment to Bitcoin that they don't want to believe it. And as it gets closer and closer, they still won't believe it, right? They might de-risk a little bit, but they won't believe it to the point that they would sell all their Bitcoin. So it will crash fast, but not as fast as most people expect. You'd probably get some crazy moves like this. You know, you get some real big chop of people buying the dip and thinking it's FUD, and everyone would say it's FUD. But I think it would just bleed and bleed and bleed. So yeah, what do you guys think? Again, guys, not financial advice. Do your own research. Investing in crypto is highly risky. You can lose all of your money investing in anything. So always do your own research before you invest in anything. I'm not a financial advisor. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget the competition we've got going on X. If you want to get free membership to the Discord, the private Discord group, you can join in there. Here's the name of my X account. It's the name, not the name at the top. It's the name where it says @ right? So make sure you're copying that one, because it's PTO, not YPTO. And that will take you to my account. That's it for now, guys. Until then, I'll catch you in the next one.